being angry when a moment is better with a smile. If you feel your time's been wasted here for a while, standing at that bus stop, chairs across from crowds, waiting for the driver to take me.
Want to do the intros?
Yeah, we'll start it up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to NOLA Food Podcast. We are sitting in St. Lawrence, a new restaurant on North Peters, and we're sitting here with Chef Caleb, and we're going to be talking a little bit about NOLA Food. We have Chef Cam Boudreaux from Kilo Po' Boys sitting in with us, and we're going to be discussing Chef's cheese menu coming up, where he's using St. James cheese, which was on our last podcast with Chef Cam. So, welcome, Chef Caleb, and welcome to NOLA Food Podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
So, we have our little, stock routine road things. I just want to tell everybody out there the questions, NOLA Food Podcast land. I've known Caleb for a little while. I've seen, kind of where you worked at a little bit, and I know that you come with some serious chops. And for anybody that didn't know, St. Lawrence is at 219 North Peters. They're open 7 days a week, and they open late, right?
Yeah, we stay up until 2 a.m. We run full menu the whole time too, and largely we kept it that way because we wanted to take care of our fellow service industry people who get off work late, so they could still have a place to get a nice, fresh, and local and decent meal after midnight. Which the options run pretty short once you hit that 12 o'clock hour.
Yep, it's a commitment.
Being in that industry, I know how it feels getting off of work, and the last thing you want to do is go home and throw a Hot Pocket in. So it's definitely appreciated by service industry people.
And hey, you can come here and drink really good and eat. I mean, so that's another good thing about St. Lawrence.
You brought up last week daiquiri that they're doing. The Pimm's Cup daiquiri.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I'll let Caleb tell you a little bit about the Pimm's Cup daiquiri, but it's. You never want to drink a regular Pimm's Cup ever again, man. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? At this point. So, go ahead. Give it to us.
All right. Well, basically, when I first stepped into the place in May to take a look at things and interview and all of that stuff after the guys had bought it, I saw these two daiquiri machines sitting over here and a lovely neon sign hanging from the ceiling stating that we had daiquiris. They were looking at selling those machines, and just the thought crossed my mind that why don't we take advantage of some of the great seasonal and local produce that we have and apply it to making our own daiquiri syrups. And it's a drink that's already very popularized down here, but you don't often see it utilized with fresh ingredients. It's often these, weird neon-colored mixtures that you'll see at various spots.
It's like
all over
ectoplasmic
town.
Cooler colored
and I'm not sure what's natural in there, but there ain't a whole lot of it that is. So,
well, those people that don't know what a Pimm's Cup is, could you describe what goes into that?
All right. Well, Pimm's Cup is basically made with Pimm's No. 1 liqueur. When Pimm's originally came out, they had 4 different varieties: No. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they were all liqueurs that were based off of traditional spirits like gin and vodka and whiskey, and I want to say the last one's brandy or cognac. But Pimm's No. 1 was the one that got especially popular because of the citrus flavors that are in it, because it's the gin-based one. It became incredibly popular in England and is basically the drink of choice during the Wimbledon tennis tournament. Basically it's made with Pimm's No. 1. Let me see. It's club soda, simple syrup, and some kind of citrus, usually lemon. It's been popularized by using muddled cucumber in there too, just to kind of add a little bit of freshness to it. And we took that concept and basically made a cucumber simple syrup and then built on the drink from there. and made our own little version of it. And it's been a hit. People have really enjoyed it. And our other, we've pretty much kept that one standard because we can get good cucumbers year round from this guy who used to be an LSU agriculture professor, and now he runs his own greenhouse. So we've been getting really good cucumbers from that guy. And the other machine rotates out. Right now we've got a muscadine white sangria in there, and I think we're probably going to go something in the Satsuma direction, maybe do a dreamsicle or something like that next.
That would be badass.
But the popularity of those is just absolutely skyrocketed.
Ain't no 190 octane here, all right?
No,
Don't get no jungle juice up in their daiquiri machines.
But that doesn't mean don't be careful with them, because we make them strong over here.
Yeah. You know. So I'll backtrack a little bit, Caleb. Just go, this is the NOLA Food Podcast. I know you're from Louisiana. Maybe just give us a quick little bio, maybe the early years of Caleb, onto maybe some of your professional bio, some of your cooking career stuff. So go ahead, just, what's some things that stuck out with you when you were growing up about food, or just whatever you want to talk about, but,
All right, well, I grew up in Monroe, Louisiana. And I'm one generation removed from farm life. I mean, my great uncle still owns a lot of land up there. He has a strawberry farm, soybeans, cotton, corn, and all of that. So farm life wasn't ever something that was too terribly far from me. Like, some of my earliest memories include picking okra out of my great grandmother's garden, and I don't know if you've ever picked okra without gloves before, but it'll burn your hands raw, and that's some of the earliest things I remember is some of the work that you got to put into in order to get a good meal. On top of that, my grandmother on my dad's side, my grandfather was a preacher on that side, and my grandmother will cook these amazing, just huge meals every Sunday, and the whole family would get together after church. And and she would still attend the church service. She would get up, sometimes 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and start making food for everybody, because she was cooking for, often around 15 people every Sunday. And she wouldn't let me in the kitchen too often when I was little, but, I eventually bugged her enough to where she started letting me follow her around a little bit. And, so, I guess it was just always there, just the whole idea of from scratch cooking and, using what we pick from out back. And, I was lucky to come up around a lot of stuff like that, and come up in a good agricultural area. I guess I didn't start really getting into restaurants until I was about 13, and I found this little Italian restaurant in my hometown called Janusa's that would basically, I was honestly shocked that they would give me a job, but they sure did. At that age, I wasn't exactly legal to be working, but my parents didn't really make a lot of money, so I wanted to have a little money in my pocket because, for one reason or another, it probably had something to do with the fact that I probably started smoking cigarettes around that time. But
you had a habit that you needed to feed.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And my folks weren't exactly giving me money so I could go buy a pack of Joe's.
Comic books and all the concerns of a 13-year-old, whatever that may be. You need money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In Monroe, it was cigarettes.
Yeah, comics and cigarettes. It's really, my two heaviest addictions at that age. So I started bussing tables and washing dishes there, and it just always, cooking was just always kind of a thing to do to make money while I was still in school until I finished school. And then I didn't want to have anything to do with school, and all I wanted to do was keep cooking because it was enough to pay the bills, and didn't really have to put a lot of thought into it. So I'm a bit of a classic underachiever in that way.
Aren't we all?
In your educational background, though, that's interesting is music, though.
Yeah, I was in vocal music and a little bit of English too. But yeah, I spent a lot of time as a choir boy growing up. But yeah, I eventually got away. It just turned into one of those things when I was in school that you know how when you go to school for something you love and you end up hating it because they kind of drill it into you so much. Well, it was basically that kind of situation for me. So I had moved down to New Orleans, I guess in 1999, and everything all right? Okay, all right. But I moved down to New Orleans in '99, and actually my first cooking job in New Orleans was working the line at Rick's Cabaret.
Nice.
That was a good job for an 18-year-old kid.
In back of the house, right?
Huh? Oh, yeah.
In
the back of the house. That's right. I wasn't quite good looking enough.
He wasn't
to be
working that line.
I wasn't working that line. No.
He's working a real line, not that line. Yeah, that's cool, man.
It was an experience, I'll tell you that. It was the first time I dealt with any kind of like big batch cooking, like buffets and stuff like that. So basically worked the lunch buffet, and then your job's basically feed the girls and feed the security guards.
Yeah, I mean that's what they do there. They do a lunch buffet, and then as far as I know,
and I mean
Steak Friday or something like that.
Yeah, and you there's a lot of downtime, so you end up doing things like, I don't know, smoking weed with the girls in the employee bathrooms, and it was quite a time to be alive. I'll say that.
Well, we're almost the same age, and I will say the late '90s was a magical time for me as well down in the city.
That was right around when I met you, actually.
Yeah. So it's an interesting perspective. You talked about actually having that from scratch cooking background. And a lot of chefs, and like this has come out when we've done the podcast, a lot of chefs kind of got into cooking, but they had to learn that aspect of it, Like, we had an herb garden when I was growing up. We had light vegetables, but there was never a field to tend to.
Right.
There was never that responsibility that this is how the family's getting fed, which is an awesome perspective to have,
Yeah.
It's probably, extends into your further work. So we'll get back into that. So you've been... you talked a little bit about, Rick's and what you're doing during college. What was the first real job where you were like, the possibility of being a chef kind of like maybe had solidified in you, or a job you pursued for the culinary arts and not just, a paycheck or something to do while you were in school? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny that you put it that way, because it's still one that I kind of fell into. Around 2002, I moved to Asheville, North Carolina, and some friends of mine have been working at this little low country breakfast all day spot called Tupelo Honey Cafe. That was really on the forefront of the whole farm to table movement at that time, at least as far as it being like a national thing in restaurants. It was largely Charleston style cuisine for the most part, but it got me back to those country roots and reminded me a lot about cooking with my grandmother growing up, and so that's when I really started to, I guess, pay a little bit more attention to the fact that it could be something that could be a career, and something that I could really focus on, because at that point I was maybe 21 years old and wasn't really thinking about a whole lot at that point. I was just basically trying to have a good time, and I was doing a good job of that, but it taught me a lot about the camaraderie of being in a kitchen and really caring about the people that you work with. I still keep in touch with a lot of those folks, and I've got one of my fellow cooks lives down in Florida, and she's chefing at a restaurant down there. Another one's running a place up in Portland, and it's just amazing to see how we were all kids. Like, this was very early on in a lot of our careers, and how we all still kind of grew out from that and ended up doing something really, really positive in the food community.
That's awesome. And that's another topic that gets brought up a lot, and I'm glad you mentioned that, the camaraderie of cooking, I don't know what it is, man. It's just, we're like this secret fraternal brotherhood of people with some of the same common interests
and sisterhood. Don't leave the girls out.
Yeah, well, I definitely won't leave the girls out. You guys know next month on the NOLA Food podcast is Women in NOLA Food Month, and we got a lot of great guests lined up for that. Not that only 1 month should be relegated to the women's voice in NOLA Food, but we're really going to focus on that. And I know that coming up, all you guys here can attest to having dealt with some of that gender discrimination in kitchens. Obviously, we're all men, and it hasn't been on us. Just seeing it go down, and it's like something that's really, we've moved a lot. And, to the humanist chefs, Thomas Keller and all them, like, I think that we've moved in the right direction for a lot of those a lot of that and a lot of that forefront, you know. But we wanted to display the women's voice there, but. You know. Well,
definitely, because I don't know about you guys, but I've been lucky enough to work in a lot of really women-friendly kitchens. Actually, Tupelo Honey, the three people that I mentioned, or two people that I mentioned, both of those are female chefs. I mean, we had a staff that was mostly women in the kitchen there. I hire mostly women here, and I spent a couple of years working for Susan Spicer once I came back to New Orleans, and she largely employs females. And you know, it's a really good dynamic that often gets brushed aside in a lot of the boys' club restaurants. And,
Correct.
You know, it's not necessarily fair to a lot of people.
No. And it's been my experience that if you suck and you can't cook, it usually doesn't have to do with your gender. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't hack it in the kitchen, man. Really, you like.
It's like, I don't care which bathroom you use. If you can roll, you can roll.
You can roll. You know, and you know, girls like to tell dirty jokes too. That's also what I've learned working with females in the kitchen.
Yeah, some of the dirtiest cooks I've ever met have been women.
They have to have a little tougher skin. You know, they can't really go in there, and it's testosterone driven. Kitchens are, and going back to the camaraderie, I think that comes from, you know, we go into hell every Friday and Saturday night at a busy restaurant.
We're going to war.
We're going to war.
Well, and it's mild PTSD.
Yeah, but we only have to get to 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whatever it is.
Right.
But that dude on your back, man, I ran out of shallots, bro. You got some mise en place I can borrow. It's the same as asking for a pack of bullets when you're going down.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's where a lot of that camaraderie
and you know, for us, although the consequences literally aren't as dire without the
nearly.
bullets, for us, we feel that, you know. And I've had some post-traumatic stress disorder-inducing shifts before professional events. So.
Yeah, I still have nightmares about the back line at Palace Cafe, man.
I mean, but that's what bars are for afterwards. You go get an Irish car bomb, and you live to fight another day. And you
guys ever had a dream with the printer? Your station printer, your ticket printer?
Oh, yeah. Or where the whole line is set up completely different than it is at work and doesn't make any sense.
I've had that before.
Or you show up on your station, guy tells you everything's fine, and there's nothing in any of the low boys.
Mine's always an 86.
And you're going down immediately.
Where you have to start 86 and shit as a chef.
It's amazing how many cooks all have those same dreams, man.
Because that's the subconscious. That's our fear.
Yeah, it's
because it makes us
worst
look like
possible scenario.
dumb, and we're not taking care of our guests, and that's the chef's worst fear, you know.
All right, so we'll segue back into talking. So you spent some time with Susan Spicer at Bayona and Mondo?
I did a little bit of prep at Bayona, but largely was at Mondo.
Okay. And then you were at Cochon and a couple other kitchens down here?
Yeah, worked at Cochon, when I moved back from North Carolina in 2005, I worked at Dante's Kitchen. It's another one of those restaurants that was really on the forefront of the movement that's been going on here with contemporary Creole, contemporary Louisiana cooking, not necessarily just Creole food, but Southern food, you know. Worked under Tony Schulte for a little while at La Petite Grocery, and then somehow managed to squeeze in about a year managing Fiorella's, the little fried chicken joint down on the end of Decatur Street.
Awesome.
So I've had some dressed down moments and some dressed up moments.
Yeah, you know, I mean, my career, I've gone from casual fine dining, flip back and forth, like. But one thing, doing different styles of service, I think is good. And you work with some really vision following chefs. You know,
I've been lucky.
You know, if you probably earned it, but saying the work you put forth, you get what I'm saying. You haven't, you worked at Palace Cafe as well, right? We talked about that a little bit. You definitely work with chefs that have their own personal vision. The menus come out as a chef-driven menu, or chef-driven places. Which is awesome, it's a good foundational experience. And so, flash forward, now you're doing this in St. Lawrence, and how did that come about?
Well, honestly, the whole thing just kind of fell into my lap. I'd just been over at Cochon for a few months and wasn't really looking around or anything like that, but, I mean, those boys go hard over there, and it takes it out of you. It's an ass kicker in there every single day. Oh, no, they don't. And, saw a place where online my friend Camille here had said something about a possible opportunity coming up, and so I just casually hit him up about it just to see what the info was. You know, happy where I was, but you never know what could happen. And, you know, that's the business we're in.
Always
you never
look for
know
opportunities.
you never know what's right around the corner. And he introduces me to Brendan and Jeff. It's Brendan Bluen and Jeff James. They're the two guys who own the place, and they had just purchased it. Didn't really know what they wanted to do with it, and so he set me up with an interview. So I go in, I meet the guys. We end up talking for about an hour or so. It's real casual. We're sitting outside having a beer, discussing what we could possibly do with the place, and so I pitched this idea of just good farm-forward, you know, locally influenced bar food, but not necessarily making New Orleans food. Like, there's plenty of places downtown where you can buy red beans and rice and po' boys and shrimp creole and all of that stuff, and I'm not knocking any of that stuff. I love eating gumbo, but to give people another option and to kind of break outside of the norm for a French Quarter restaurant was something that I felt like it was a little bit ambitious, but I felt like it's something that would go over well too, you know, because, you know, the restaurant scene's been not necessarily changing that much, but evolving enough to where it can incorporate places like this as well as some of those old institutions.
Right.
So we, you know, did the interview, and we did a little tasting one night, and somehow managed to talk them into it. So I honestly feel like it was, you know, there might have been a little bit of fate at play too, because it's funny, because these guys, I'd never met them before. They knew half the people I knew in the city already, and not only that, but when they were at LSU, their next door neighbors in the dorms were people that I went to high school with, and that they still keep up with to this day, and people I hadn't talked to since high school. So it was just really amazing, all the little synchronicities that had fallen into it. And it just felt like the whole thing was supposed to happen. And you know, it was 1 month from my hiring date when we started as St. Lawrence, and it was a whirlwind, because even in the middle of that, there was a week where I went on vacation because I had my vacation planned, and I was like, guys, I'm taking my vacation. And they were like, okay. And maybe 4 days after I got back in town, we opened up the restaurant, and it was a whirlwind. And
so what had happened was the two partners had kind of bought this place when it was operating as the Harbor, which was there's a sister restaurant, or it's I don't want to say chain, maybe another location or a couple of locations.
There's a place in I want to say it's in Kenner, but they've been there for about 20 something years, and I want to say it's the son of one of the owners out there wanted to open one down here and try to see if he could make it work. He was doing a little bit, wasn't quite doing the extensive menu that they have out there. Like, they do a lot of fried seafood like platters and stuff like that. I mean, it's as old school as it gets. And I mean, man, I love places like that. I love eating at them. I'll go to Deanie's every now and again, man.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a scaled down situation, largely because of the size of the kitchen here. And I don't know, it was just another place, you know, and they didn't really make it anything too special. So, you know, unfortunately, it didn't work out for them.
Well, you know, seeing this place evolve, man, I love what's been going on with the menu. You know, when you go through your visions, more things get added on. You know, we share a lot of the same purveyors as well that I have at the sandwich shop down at Killer Po' Boys, 811 Contact. You know, I love having good neighbors up here. Actually, we were talking out back, like, oh no, he needs to borrow some lamb from me. I got the same product he uses. It's great, right? You know, it's awesome.
Yeah, I was waiting until tomorrow on it, and he said he had it available, and that's gonna make my life a lot easier.
That's the brotherhood of chefs too, you know. So we love that. You know, Caleb eats my food, I eat his food. All the guys from St. Lawrence come and eat by us, and it's not competition for me. It's having friends, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, we actually the last couple shows we talked about how much potential. The great thing about being in the Quarter is you get an international guest. You know, it's awesome.
Oh yeah.
And there's so much potential down here. Maybe some of the places that just are kind of mired in this tourist-driven mediocrity for maybe a local person to come in and have a chance and say, hey, guess what? We're going to do our vision, and this is what we're going to do. Win, lose, or fail, So, but I love what's going on with the menu. I'm looking right now at something that I know we wanted to talk about. It's tying into last week, the American Cheese Month, and you're doing a special American cheese-focused dinner with beer pairings, and that's going to be on the 23rd. It's a ticketed event, y'all. I know you can get in touch with them on their website.
It's StLawrenceNOLA.com. Spell it all out. SAINT, Lawrence NOLA.
Just pop in here and talk to them when they're open. I mean, they're open, 80 hours out of the week. So.
Yeah, you can make reservations here at the restaurant 11 a.m. to 2 a.m., 7 days a week.
So let's kind of talk about a little bit how that came to be. I know this is something that you're doing with St. James Cheese, and looks like Bayou Teche is doing all the pairings. So.
That's right. Casey over at St. James is the one who initially brought it to my attention. I didn't even know there was an American Cheese Month.
Not the government cheese.
Not the government cheese. No, this is for those great artisan cheeses that have been developing over the last 10 years or so in the States, which it's really great that a lot of places all over the country have been going in that direction, trying to make some of these really fantastic cheeses. Because we were kind of shut out on the whole cheese thing once a lot of the raw milk cheeses from Europe weren't allowed into the States anymore. So there weren't a whole lot of places that were really trying to duplicate that because they never thought they were gonna. I don't know. I guess they just didn't think it'd be good enough. But man, there's some stuff that we're getting now in the States that I'd put it up against some of that European stuff every day. And
yeah, that's some great
I've
cheese.
I've been over there. I've been over the other side, and I've had a lot of those cheeses, and they've got some amazing stuff. But there's really great products that are being produced right here in the country now, and we're lucky to have that. And we're glad that people have been, proactive enough to start trying to go outside the box a little bit and maybe make a little bit more than just Wisconsin cheddar.
Yeah, I think it's awesome too that Rob's had some experiences with cheese up in Vermont. I had two in the same state, and used professionally some of these great American cheeses that are coming out. The show last week, actually, I think Casey brought us. The Harbison is the spruce wrapped one, right?
Yeah, that Harbison is incredible, crazy, isn't it? It's got this turnipy kind of mustard flavor.
Yeah. Well, I was getting an earthy mushroom thing to it. You know what I'm saying? Like the root.
Yeah, I really
love
that.
A fungus, a root, a dirt,
funky,
right?
Rooty, dirty taste.
Yeah, it's from Jasper Hill Farms. Everybody out there.
That's right. That's out of Vermont, isn't it? I believe so. Yeah.
Awesome.
But we're gonna do a little roasted red pepper arancini with that, which is basically a fried risotto ball, and we're gonna have a nice little bit of that good gooey Harbison cheese in the middle of it, and we're gonna make a little cashew pesto with it. So it's gonna be a really pretty dish, and I think the flavors are gonna play really well for it.
This whole menu looks pretty good, man. It looks like it's got that same it's beer forward, obviously. We're doing tastings with Bayou Teche. I love so anyway, guys, it's a 5-course menu. I'm looking at the first course here, the bruleed Lincoln Log goat cheese. Now, is that the name of the producer, or you're making Lincoln Logs out of the goat cheese?
No, it's the cheese is actually called Lincoln Log. Justin over at St. James used that cheese in the National Cheesemonger competition that he entered recently, and he actually won second place in it. And the dish that he made used that cheese, and he bruleed it a little bit with a torch on top, and said it worked out really great. So I'm gonna try and
awesome.
hopefully do it justice. And I think this menu is going to be a lot of fun because it's going to give me an opportunity to make more than just the bar food that I've been making. Not that I don't like my bar food. I love my bar food.
Guys, and when Caleb says bar food, all right, now St. Lawrence, I think their little tagline is elevated bar fare. They got wings, they got spring rolls, but the spring roll is a corned beef spring roll. I mean, it's like a Reuben spring roll made with corned beef and his homemade chow chow, which is a little southern bend on it. The wings are crispy, comfy wings. They're really delicious. The burgers are hand ground. There's a beef and a turducken one.
Using that 2-Run Farms.
Yeah.
We use their beef. It's the same stuff that Cam uses.
We
the
love
same stuff that
2-Run
Rob
Farm,
uses too. They're a really great company, and those guys are awesome.
They're like some characters from a Wes Anderson flick where they're into the beef. I'm not trying to caricature them, but they're interesting cats, man, and they're really enthusiastic and passionate about every product they get. And, you know, the guy you call on the phone to order your stuff, guess what? He's the guy that drops it off, that had done killed the damn thing, that had, you know, packaged it up and fed it, raised it for our pleasure, which is our dining pleasure, right? You know, I think it's great, man.
And it's really great because they use, like, I mean, they raise about 150 head of cattle a year. And, I mean, when I see those guys sit down and they eat a burger in this place, I bet they could tell me the name of the cow that it came from sometimes. Like, I sit there and I wonder. I really do.
So, yeah, I mean, getting back to that, so you're gonna step out of the norm, maybe I think, you know, this is to give you opportunity to also do like kind of this course tasting thing, which is always usually fun. Take your guest on a journey, man, we're really super excited about it. Actually, tell you the truth, I might actually come to this damn thing. How much is it?
It's only $65. That includes tax and tip, all the beers, five courses,
yeah.
five. I want to say it's like maybe a 4 to 6 ounce pour on the beers. But yeah, you'll definitely leave full and happy. And
is there a certain time frame that it's in?
Well, we're gonna start it at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 23rd.
Okay.
But yeah, it's something I've really been looking forward to because, you know, some of the places I've worked have done some really nice and really well refined food. And
do people need to make reservations? Or
yes.
It's
reservations are required.
Yeah, it's a special menu. It's so it's like kind of almost exactly reservations.
Yeah, we're basically ordering as much as we're going to need for this because it's not really we're not really using anything that's typically on our menu. So it's going to be
very exciting.
Yeah, I'm really psyched about it because, again, like a lot of the places that I've worked have had a little bit more. I don't know, a little bit more refined food than what I typically put out here, and so it's allowing me the opportunity to kind of stretch my legs a little bit and, you know, make sure I still got it, I guess.
You know, and the cool thing about this space here at St. Lawrence is you guys literally have room to do, you know, you have room to have people at the bar ordering off the regular menu, plus room to do a fair amount of people on some kind of special course dinner or special event, you know, which I think is great. You guys have done a couple different things here so far, if I'm not mistaken, that have, you know, been cool and fun. Some of the opening parties look really fun, and then there was another. Was there a themed dinner you did?
We had a pop-up cocktail bar that was a lot of fun. It was, a bunch of the bartenders from the area had made their own carbonated cocktails and like pre-bottled, So basically, they came in, sold their drinks, and we did a little limited menu and kind of diner styled the whole thing out because, you know, it's like a soda jerk fountain basically. But we haven't done any themed dinners yet like this, and we're not going to be serving regular menu while we're doing this. We're actually going to shut it down and do a private service just for this. But of course, we're going to open it up right as soon as the thing's over with. But yeah, I mean, we're probably going to seat about 40 people for the thing, you know, and I think it's going to be a really good and unique experience. We're also going to have Casey from St. James is going to come down to talk about the cheeses and explain those as they come out with each course.
And he's very knowledgeable and very open with his education.
Casey is a wealth of information when it comes to things like cheese and wine, especially. He's really a joy to have around.
That's what we said last week, man. The question was posed, can you know too much about cheese? And I think our answer was no. You couldn't know too much about cheese, even if you were trudging through cow shit to pump the udder for the milk that goes into it. That's fine.
I mean, it's just the same idea about knowing too. You know, a cook who says he knows too much about food has plateaued and apparently needs to find another place to work.
Right. You know? Well, that's the common thread when you hear, you know, talk to chef interviews or read about chef culture is the most successful chefs are always evolving.
Yeah, of course.
They're still learning, you know, and that's it, man. I mean,
you can never. Doesn't chef mean teacher? And to be a teacher and to teach, you know, we have to educate ourselves on a continual basis.
Yeah.
Where there should never be that end, right? We're always looking for that enlightenment in our lives or in that kitchen.
Well, you should just never discount the idea that every day can be a learning experience, no matter what your career is, no matter what you're doing in your life. You know, you wake up and you learn something. whether it's got something to do with food or not. You know, you think outside the box a little bit.
Is learning from other people that I've been around. You know, doing this podcast, doing the pop-up stuff like that, meeting all these other individual chefs. It's brought me up even more in this past year. So, you know, it's something I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a very like friendly, open community now in New Orleans of people making handmade food from scratch food in different venues, whether they're doing it in tasting menu style, grand entrees, they're selling it wrapped up in between po' boy loaves like myself, or doing this elevated bar fare at here at St. Lawrence. You know,
well, this is one of those places, Chef, that you were talking about that had maybe not some great food, had some mediocre food, and now a chef is in there and took over that spot.
Like the location is great, man. If you guys don't know the location, if you're local or you hung out downtown, you know, or this used to be for a long time, it was a Rue de la Course. It was where whatchamacallit, Voodoo Barbecue is.
Voodoo
split
Barbecue
some stuff up in here.
There was a sports bar here for a little while too. Some place called like the referee or the checkered pants or something.
The checkered pants.
I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
But
well, now y'all have got a huge buzz on Twitter.
Yeah, and get a lot of buzz on social media.
I mean, that
really
was
growing.
That was another plus whenever the guys were hiring me. Was they asked me if I was particularly adept at social media, and I want to say around that time I had about 450 followers on Twitter on my personal account, and I think I'm around 550 now. So I spent a lot of time managing the Twitter account for the restaurant as well as my own, and you know, getting us set up on Facebook and stuff like that. So
it's huge in this city right now,
well,
especially for little guys like us.
Well, I mean, just the whole movement with social media has really exploded since Katrina. I mean, in a lot of ways because, you know, sites like Twitter didn't exist in 2005, but by 2007. When Gustav came around was actually when I really started seeing Twitter take on more of a global influence and becoming something that was a resource for news and not just basically what I initially signed up for was it was a way to drunk text my friends in a really convenient manner where you sent one message out and they would all get it. Instead of, you know, I love you to this many people, or whatever I was feeling at the time.
More business-based, too. I found me doing a lot more business on Twitter than Facebook. Facebook is more family, you know, pictures, photos,
well, yeah, of course.
Funny cat, you know, posters, you know, shit like that.
Yeah, I'd say Facebook's taken a little bit of a downturn, honestly. But what you can do with something that's as quick and clean and easily networked as Twitter is really, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Limited. You have to edit yourself. You got those 140 characters,
140 or whatever it is,
and you have.
Yeah, but you keep it.
I would
quick
love to describe my things in a big, huge paragraph, but I have 3 words plus the link plus the @ You know, you have to consolidate.
Yeah. Well, you know, also,
but it feeds the short attention span society that we're in.
You know, promote what you're doing, specials and stuff like that. As a chef, man, it's great. And we get to talk right to our guests. You know, there you go. There it is. You know, hey, I liked it. I didn't like it. You know, suggestions, whatever, praise. I mean, it's all there. Like, and I love that. You know, it doesn't cost me no money to get on there and diddle around on a phone. Or my iPad now. I got a new iPad, so I like that. But, you know...
so business is good.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know. I put it on a credit card, so, you know. And not a business one either, so, you know.
Credit's good.
The credit's good, yeah.
All right.
The credit's somewhat good. But, so, getting back, we've been talking about St. Lawrence now. We talked a little bit about the menu. You know, you got the great burger, some great starter plates on there. You've always had that entree salad, which I like. You know, I've been having people come and tell me about your flank steak salad recently too. Bert over at Aaron Rose, like, I love Aaron Rose salad. But what's something on there you got right now that really sings to you, man? Like, what, you know, just like maybe a dish that's like, you know, all right, this is kind of my favorite. Like on the killer po' boys, I mean the lamb sausage, like that. You know, the evolution of that took me a little while to get there, but now I love the finished product. Like, what's something that you really you know, excited about or want to tell the people out there in podcast land?
Well, honestly, Man, a lot of people come in here and just and ask me what my favorite thing on the menu is, and it's a really hard question to answer.
Well, it's all your babies, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Your favorite
it's
child?
Like, who's your favorite child?
That's the hardest question.
Earmuffs.
That's typically the answer that I give them too. Is just like it's like trying to pick your favorite kid. But I'd say the two that really reach out to me right now are the really like the fish fry plate that we're doing. It just reminds me so much of being a kid, you know. We go out with my mom's dad and go out and catch a bunch of fish and bring them back to the house and take them all in the backyard, clean them up, marinate them, do this big fish fry with the family. And so I essentially just took that whole idea, just put like a good, Sunday luncheon kind of potato salad and hush puppies, a little tartar sauce, and some Louisiana catfish marinated in Creole mustard and crystal hot sauce, and like those like what my grandfather used to do was he would use just yellow mustard and Tabasco and just a little bit. He didn't really like the spice too much, but to be able to take that and to evolve it into something that's a little bit more refined, using a little bit stronger ingredients,
right?
And to have people just have the response that they've had over it, like it's just such a simple dish. It's a piece of fried catfish, 3 hush puppies, and a little bit of potato salad, some tartar sauce. Just that people love it as much as they do when it's something that, was born straight out of my childhood. It just really, really makes me happy.
And that you got it menued as the fish fry too.
Yeah,
awesome.
Exactly. Like
cool.
It's a Louisiana fish fry. That's what it is. Outside of that one, I've really enjoyed the Sloppy Joel.
This has got a good story. So tell us.
Yeah, this one's great. All right, basically, there's this friend of mine in North Carolina named Joel Jordan. He's a graphic designer, and he's done everything from designed a bunch of Donnie's old rave flyers. Actually, nice. Like in the '90s. He actually
Freebase Society.
He actually wrote a book about it too.
Really?
Like, there's this book called, I want to say it's called like Searching for the Perfect Beat or something like that. But it's basically a catalog of rave flyers from the early '90s through the early 2000s, and it's his book. And I just met the guy because he'd randomly moved to North Carolina because he wanted to get away from New York for a while, and spent a lot of time going out with him, going drinking. We threw a few shows together and stuff like that. And he was just a really good friend. But basically, we'd go out and we'd drink and go back to his place with a few friends, and end up smoking a little weed or something. And he one night decides, I'm going to make Sloppy Joel. And I was like, what the hell is Sloppy Joel? His name being Joel, and he's vegetarian. And he was like, oh, it's like a vegetarian Sloppy Joel. You're going to love this, okay? And he initially made it with I can't remember, was it tofu or sorry, it was a lot of weed, and it was way back when. But I want to say he made them with tofu, but it always had this, like, really strong Asian flavor to it because that was just the kind of food that he liked. And once time came for me to put this menu together, I wanted to kind of make my own little version of that because it was a fun thing, and it reminded me of such a really good time. And food's, I'm a sentimental bastard when it all comes down to it. So a lot of these things that come off this menu are based totally around sentiment. But I started using when I would make it. Started using this stuff called textured vegetable protein. It's really, really cheap stuff, but it's got a lot of protein. It's basically defatted soy flour, but when you reconstitute it, it kind of has the same kind of texture as ground beef.
Yeah.
And is it tempeh?
Huh? No, it's soy flour. It's great. So I'll let you try it, man. It's really good stuff. But still developed it with a lot of those Asian flavors. Garlic, ginger, green onion. Carrot, soy sauce.
Nice.
So it has this really awesome, like, good bold flavor to it, but it's a protein bomb of a meal too. So it's something that you don't see in a lot of vegetarian options around the city. This being not an incredibly vegetarian friendly town, but to be able to for a vegetarian to come in here and get something that's actually a good, solid, high-protein meal is, you know, it's there's a pretty short list of places where they'd be able to do that here. And
yeah, it is.
You know,
it is hard, you know, and that's one thing that I've noticed. You guys have always kept that option on the menu. There are people that do have those dietary restrictions, and you know, make it. As a chef, I've always felt it's my responsibility to feed as many people in the best way as possible that makes sense with my bottom line. And like, you know what, like, you like vegetables, you know. No, Caleb, you do a lot of great sourcing on your veggies, your sides, and your market curry usually has a lot of fresh seasonal vegetables on it. Like I said, we use a lot of the same purveyor, so I know the product he's using. It's up to my standards. Obviously, it's up to his, right? And you know, it's great that that's still represented on the menu. So we'll switch it here. We'll go to the little shout-out section. All right, to kind of like, where are you eating tonight? You know, where are you eating tonight?
Likely where I'm eating tonight is going to be in this booth right behind me. But if I had
want to eat tonight?
If I had my druthers, I'd probably I've been wanting to head up to Toop's Meadery, this place uptown that I was lucky enough to run into to Isaac Toop's from there today while I was in line at Restaurant Depot. And I've never met the guy before, but I've been hearing about his place, so I figured I'd take the opportunity to reach out. And, you know, I really like what they've been doing up there. I think it's just fills another niche in the city and speaks to that same, you know, group of young chefs that are, you know, adding more things to the great cornucopia that is New Orleans cuisine. There seem to be well, it's not applause. So
yeah, I want to go eat there. Maybe we should all just go out and eat there. You close down St. Lawrence. Oh yeah, that's it. Money, time, energy, right? I mean, I'll be totally honest. I've been on a bit of a diet over the last couple of weeks. Been trying to steer away from. You lost some weight, man.
Yeah, you know, stop drinking beer and, you know, trying to slim up a little bit, but not too much now. I don't want to scare people, but honestly, throughout all of this, I've been craving Chinese food like crazy.
Well, the Golden Dragon, baby.
That's exactly what I'm about to talk about. Young's Golden Dragon up on
dude.
Magazine Street. Mm-hmm. If you guys haven't eaten there yet, it's literally the best option for good traditional Chinese food in this city.
If they don't give it to you, you gotta ask them for the authentic or the chef's specialties menu.
Yeah, there's a white menu and a yellow menu, and I'm not saying this in a racist manner.
No, they're literally
white and yellow menus. So there's your Americanized Chinese food, which is still good.
There's some good dishes on that side of the menu too.
But like, you know, the dumplings are on both of those menus. He makes his own dumpling skins from scratch, and I mean, you can tell the amount of love that goes into that food. But
it's great stuff.
But I've been thinking about this, like this boiled fish and Szechuan peppercorn oil with like a little bit of rice on the side. It's so crazy good. And his wife there actually told me that when he made it in China, he made it probably 4 times spicier than it is, and it'll already light you up. You can see all the Szechuan peppercorns all floating to the top, and it has that great, like, tingly, numbing kind of flavor that you get from those. And man, I think I'm starting to have more dreams about that than I am about having bad days in the kitchen.
It's so weird. I think I want to do that with every Asian place I go to now. There always seems to be that super secret menu, like China Rose and Metairie.
China Rose has similar Sichuan dishes and Taiwanese dishes as well.
You have to ask for the Chinese menu. If not, you're going to get the same old.
The cool thing, Young's was out there in Metairie.
Yeah.
Now they're uptown, and you know what? For a guy that doesn't drive, man, I can ride my bike to Young's.
Oh,
now I ride my bike back home, fat and happy. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I'm going there now.
It's a little slower going back, huh?
Well, we turned that, since I moved back to New Orleans, we kind of turned that to the place where the family, if there's going to be like 4 or 5 of those family members, now Anna, my fiance, is tied too, which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
So if there's going to be like the brothers' lunch, you know, like everybody going out to lunch for the brother's birthday or something like that, we're going to Young's, which is what I love, you know? Like I said, you guys hear me a lot about my little excuses, right? Our print shop's next to Fotal Bay. We shop at Hong Kong Market so we can eat the really good, you know, cheap banh mi and the steamed bun. Anyway, that's a good shout out, man. I'm an advocate for Young's. If you haven't been, you guys got to go. Young's Golden Dragon, right next to Joey K's 7th Street Magazine.
Now I have another one on my goddamn list. Shit.
Yeah, right.
There's so many in the city.
Hey man, if we can start, maybe we can just maybe if we could podcast like, you know, 50 hours a week and eat the rest. That'd be awesome, right?
Isn't that what this Morse does?
Yeah. So, well, yeah, exactly. I'm not advocating shill for anybody, but yeah. Look, bro, we don't shill, man. If we're passionately talking about your place on the podcast, that means we love your food, all right? So we look into that.
And nobody lining our pockets. For
and if we have a bad meal somewhere, you just won't hear from us about that place.
We'll keep it
we only
down.
talk about the places that we really do enjoy.
We ain't doing critical review here, you know?
There's a little bit of honor among thieves, you know.
Yeah. So we kind of wrapping it up, man. You know, we definitely did a little shout-out segment. Is there anything you want to leave us with? I know we'll give some more details about the cheese dinner as well. You know,
your Twitter shout-out, how they can find you on Twitter and stuff.
All right. Well, you can find us on Twitter at St. Lawrence NOLA. It's St. Lawrence NOLA. If you don't know how to spell Lawrence, it's pretty easy. We got LAWRENCENOLA. There's no spaces. Our website is stlawrencenola.com. The Saint is spelled out there. But yeah, if you guys want to get in touch with us about doing this dinner, again, it's Tuesday, October 23rd. It's at 6:30 p.m. We're only taking 40 reservations for it, which I think we might be about halfway there. So get 'em. Basically, it's a get 'em while you can kind of situation. But we take reservations here at the restaurant. There's a PayPal link on the website, or you can just give us a call at 525-4111 and just let us know. We're at 219 North Peters, down in the quarter. It's between Iberville and Bienville. So y'all just
tell
come down and
everybody
let
real
us know.
quick about how the name came about. I think
that's a good one. I'm shocked we didn't get around to
I know,
this.
it's something I didn't know about. It's something I just remembered.
Honestly, man, we were kicking around some of what I consider to be the worst restaurant names that could have been in the history of New Orleans. I mean, places like the Carriage House, which basically makes me think of horse shit. I mean, we thought up a lot of ideas and struck them all down, and I started thinking about the Saints, and you know, there's a lot of Saint this, Saint that. There's a lot of, you know, Catholic influence in the city as it is. A lot of places that have already gone in that direction. We weren't necessarily trying to step on that so much, but we were trying to think of it in a more food-focused fashion. So I was like, well, there's bound to be a patron saint of cooks. And it actually recalled me to this conversation that I'd had with somebody at the Old Point Bar with this, you know, weathered old line cook who lives here in town. He's an awesome guy. I'm not gonna put his name out there for calling him old, but we had a conversation about St. Lawrence, patron saint of cooks, one night. The whole story that he had, in 258 A.D. he had. When Christianity was still illegal in Rome, he was given the charge of protecting the wealth of the church, and he was found out and brought before the council, and they told him to present them with the wealth of the church. And he comes back with a throng of sick and poor people and says, "This is the wealth of the church," and because of that, they killed him. But the way they killed him was especially brutal. They grilled him to death on what's known as a gridiron, which is essentially where he got being the patron saint of cooks from. And what's really great on top of all of this is that snarky son of a bitch halfway through it said to him, "Turn me over, I'm done on this side." All right? I shit you not. It's a beautiful story. It's an amazing story.
That is awesome.
And because of that, he's become such a figurehead for for the protection of cooks, and I want to say like librarians. And I think that little joke at the end actually got him to be the patron saint of comedians too. I'm serious.
That's awesome.
But
that's something I never knew about. I thought that was. I didn't even know we had a saint that even recognized us. So.
And actually, every August there's a day known as the Feast of St. Lawrence, and we did a little celebration here for it this year, where we basically broke down did a lot of drink specials and gave out some food and stuff like that, and just kind of gave back to our fellow cooks. Didn't have a huge turnout for it, but I'm thinking next year, you know, once we picked it up a little bit more, you know, we'd only been open for just maybe 2 months at that point, and not everybody's heard the name yet. So thinking by next year it's going to be a thing, and we're going to make it a thing. You know, we're going to make it to where it's going to be a really nice big celebration.
Well, that sounds great, man. And we really do appreciate you being on the podcast. Y'all follow Chef Cam at Killer Pool Boys on Twitter. And he's also on Facebook.
We're at Facebook, Killer Space Po' Boys. I just put an Instagram account up there. I ain't going to shout that out to you. I got 3 blogs. Neither of them I blog on, but I got them. And we got a website. But anyway, we're at 811 Conti, 12 to 12, Wednesday through Sunday. Come to the rear of the Aaron Rose Bar for Killer Po' Boys.
And if y'all want any good barbecue, check out NOLASmokehouse.com. And as always, stay hungry, NOLA.